G'day everyone, it's Sam, and today we are on a journey towards that illustrious, that elusive, that Holy Grail in the physical yoga practice, the press to handstand. Now this press to handstand requires a few things, all of which we'll be working on today. We've got hamstring lengthening, of course, front body compression, especially in those nasty little hip flexors, and of course, pressing strength. So before you start this video, if you're new here on the channel, please consider subscribing if you love free, high quality yoga content. Now, there are not many people with only 500 subscribers filming in 4K with 2 separate cameras. So, gotta have some props for that, right? So please click that subscribe button, and when you're ready, this will be a strong vinyasa flow. Grab yourself some blocks and we'll get right into it. So we're going to get right into it, starting in a malasana, Yogi Squat. So tuck under your toes, send those heels down towards the floor, walk the feet out just a little wider, and allow the knees to move away from each other. So straight off the bat, we want to work on opening the hips, so finding a slight external rotation, but also sitting deep, so finding this compression through the hip flexors. Now, if you're comfortable, you can press the back of the arms to the inside of the thighs and take the palms together. If that's not available to you, just let the back of the arms rest on the knees and the palms face up. We're going to be here for a minute or so, just finding a sense of calm, a long spine, and closing the eyes. If you have those palms pressing together, as you push the palms together, the elbows draw away from each other, the palms move down, the chest lifts up. And just allow your eyes to close here. As always, finding a sense of focus, a sense of commitment to the practice. Take comfort in the fact that for the next 70 to 80 minutes, all you have to do is be here, working on your practice, working on yourself. During that time, you have no other commitments, no obligations. So feel that with each inhale, you're sending energy to every single fiber, every muscle, every cell of the body. And as you exhale, as though you were clearing house, and getting rid of the junk to give you space to start anew. Working to keep the breath calm and steady in and out through the nose. We'll be here for 3 more rounds. Take your last 2 breaths. Space to set yourself an intention or a dedication for the practice. My dedication for the practice is just going to be to commit fully. So open the eyes after you've finished those breaths. We are going to sit down on to the bottom and just take the legs out wide. So we're starting in this straddle shape. Give the legs a little shake out. I'm sure the shins are starting to feel it after that first malasana. In a moment, we set up for Bhavishya Konasana, or this separate leg straddle forward fold. The reason we're starting in this shape is because it emulates exactly the shape of the straddle press to handstand, which is our peak. That is what we're working towards in the practice. And it has everything that we need. It has the length in the hamstrings, it has the front body compression, and that pressing strength. We're going to imagine we were pushing into the floor when we are in the forward fold. So to start with, sit up nice and tall. Flex the toes towards the face first. So really important when we come to that press handstand to keep your feet active. Now, if you're already pressing in your practice, you will have a preference whether that's dorsiflexion or plantarflexion when you press up. If you haven't pressed yet, and maybe today's the first time you're going to give it a try, You won't have a preference just yet, but as long as there is something going on in the feet. So we're going to work on both those movements in the ankles today, the dorsiflexion, which is the toes coming towards the shins, and the plantar flexions, which we like to refer to as the ballerina toes. So we'll start with dorsiflexion, flex the feet, flex the quadriceps as well. Allow the knees and the toes to stay pointing straight up rather than rolling in towards each other. If they move away from each other a little bit, even better. Take those fingertips just between your thighs, pull your shoulders back, lift your chest. Take a breath in. Then as you exhale, just start to bend your elbows and gently walk your hands out in front of you. If there's space, we rest the forearms down onto the mat. Now, we are going to be here for a little bit, so we want to move slowly and deeper into the pose every round of breathing. So important, the more you fold forward, the more you want your legs to be engaged. So instead of the jelly thighs, you want to flex the quads so you know that they are active, because the legs play such a big role in the press to handstand. So flex the feet, push the heels away from one another, feel the quadriceps flex a little more. Take a breath in. Then as you exhale, you just walk the arms further forward out in front of you. You can let the head start to drop down towards the mat. Now, it may not be there just yet, but as we stay here a little longer, it may get a little closer down towards that mat. Every few breaths or so, see if you can just wiggle your toes just to make sure they're still working. Flex those quads. Now, this shape of Bhavishya Konasana is one of the primary poses that is super beneficial in helping us understand the shape or the preparation of getting into that press handstand. If you have come a little deeper, the arms are outstretched, maybe the forehead's resting on the earth. Can you just flex through your wrist joint or extend through your wrist joint? So point your palms forward and really push the hands out further in front of you. Now we're really emulating that shape of the press handstand. So we have extension through the wrists, flexion through the ankles, flexion through the quads. We're pushing, pushing, pushing. I'm going to be here for about 5 more of your own breaths. And really shrugging the shoulders up towards the ears, which is what we'll be doing in our press handstand later on. It's going to be really challenging to open the fingers when you're in extension, so you can just let the fingers naturally bend here. Just about 3 more breaths. Keep everything engaged, feet flexed, quads flexed, arms reaching. We'll take one final breath here. Really draw your belly in and flex your abs as you exhale. And then mindfully walk the hands back towards the body. We'll start to lift the chest. Now those legs are going to feel like they have just had a beating, so just bash out the calves on the earth there for a moment. Wiggle out the feet, let the feet be heavy for just a moment. Nice one. So trying to understand that shape is super, super beneficial working towards a pressed handstand. So if you're nowhere near that chest to floor, head to floor in your Bhavishya Konasana or pancake stretch, something to work on every single day for around 3 to 5 minutes is really going to help you. We're going to grab one of our blocks now and just pop it on the lowest setting inside your right ankle. So as well as just compression through the front body, hip flexor strength is super important in working towards that handstand as well, which is what we're going to work on here. So flex both your feet again. We're going to turn our torso over the right thigh. Take the left fingertips just inside the right knee, and the right fingertips just outside the right knee. And we're going to find just a small amount of compression. So instead of the chest leaning backwards, we're going to move the chest further forwards. outstretched arms, foot flexing, quadricep engaged. Now, all we're going to do is on an exhale, lift the right leg up and over to the other side of the block, and then take it back. So press down through the fingertips, feel a protraction in your scapula, your shoulder blades, pull the belly in towards the spine, take an inhale. On the exhale, lift the right leg up and over. Nice one. That is one. We are going to do 10 of those, 5 with a flex foot, 5 with a pointed. So we've got 4 more like this. Push down through the fingers, take an inhale. Exhale, we lift up and over. That's 2. Go for 3, for 4, and 5. Now, if you've never done those before, they are not fun. We're going to point through the toes now and find a little bit more compression. It's going to make it a lot more challenging, a lot more fun. So point the toes, or point the foot rather, and then flex the toes back towards you. We call this a floint, and that's going to emulate you standing on your tippy toes, which is what you'll be doing just before you come into that press handstand. Take an inhale. Exhale, we lift. That's 1, for 2, for 3, 4, and 5. Slowly lift yourself back up to a seat. Take your thumb, just pop it into your hip flexor. Give it a little massage there. It may start to cramp. If it does, bend up your knee as well. Just shake out your leg from side to side. If you've never done those before, I apologize. But you will get used to them. They will become a little less brutal and a little more fun in the future, I promise. We're on to the left side now, so flex both feet. The block is just inside your left ankle. You can take left fingertips outside the left knee, right fingertips inside. Find an element of compression. Lean forward, push with the hands. We have 5 with our flexed foot, so take an inhale. Exhale, we lift. Back over, that's 1, for 2, for 3, 4, and 5. Nice one. Now come to that flointed foot. We point the foot, flex the toes back towards you. We lean forward even more, making it more challenging. This will be a strong practice. There will be challenges from start to finish. Take an inhale. Exhale, we go for 5. 1, for 2, for 3, for 4, and 5. Nice one. Lift back up. Shake out those legs. Take the thumb into that hip flexor. If you need to, give it a little bit of a massage. Second block now. We're going to pop 1 inside both of the ankles. Now, if we haven't met before, you're probably not going to like me after this one, but that's okay. As long as you subscribe to the channel, we can be best friends. So you're going to floint through the feet again. You point the feet, flex the toes back towards you. We are only going to go for 5 this time. You may think 2 blocks, it's twice as hard. No. 2 blocks, 100 times as hard. So blocks on the lower side, both sets of fingertips in front of the thighs, so in line with the knees here. If you go way too hard on the compression, the legs simply won't move. So the chest is going to be a little more upright on this one. Push down, spread the shoulder blades apart, pull the navel in towards the spine, take an inhale. Exhale, we lift, up and over, that's 1, for 2, for 3, for 4, and 5. Flex the feet, give them a little bit of a shake out. Again, if you need those thumbs, you pop them in to the hip flexors, give them a little massage. And then gently pop your blocks off to the side. We're going to do a little test here. We're going to come back to the Bhavishya Konasana and just see if there's a difference after actively strengthening the hip flexors. So after you use a muscle, it's more inclined to release after it's been working, right? So think about if you've had a long day at work, you're more inclined to rest if you've worked hard beforehand. Whereas if you're at rest all day, then there's no indication that you want to rest more because that's all you've been doing. So you're going to flex the feet towards you. Sorry for rambling, just there. Flex the quads, take an inhale. Then like we did before, exhale, walk the arms forward. You may have a little more space. Maybe even the chest gets down towards the floor here or the forehead.
So just for fun, because you are in your deepest point of compression through your hip flexors here, with the arms outstretched, come onto the fingertips, flex the quads, and just for fun, see if you can lift your feet even a millimeter up off the earth. You'll notice it is pretty much physically impossible unless you started practicing gymnastics from the age of 18 months old. Pretty much impossible. So when you are in flexion or when you are in compression, there in your hips, super challenging to lift the legs. We'll slowly come back up.
But that's what we do in a press handstand. We are in a deep state of compression and we lift the legs, albeit they lift the opposite way to which they did just then. But understanding that it is super challenging to lift the legs when in a state of compression in the front body, that we understand that the press handstand is not a simple movement. For myself, it took me 3 years before I managed my first straddle press handstand. So if you don't get it in this practice, fantastic. Bend up the knees, flex the feet. We're just going to rinse the hips from side to side. Just releasing through the hips. We just want to do about 5, 6, 7 on either side. Not overthinking it. Just getting some natural internal and external rotation there in the hips. And then once you feel nice and even, we're going to come on to all fours. We're just going to work to wake up into the fingers, the wrists, and the forearms. So start on all fours, tuck your toes under, send your hips back towards your heels just for a moment. Just moving out through the toes. So we haven't even had the toes touching the mat yet. So we just want to give those a little chance to integrate onto the mat. And then from here, keeping the toes tucked under, if you can, keep pushing. Start to lift the torso up and reach the arms up and overhead. If you've practiced with me before, you've done these before, and if not, once again, I apologize in advance. The inhale opens, the hands really wide, we spread apart the fingers. The exhale is going to squeeze the hands really tight, like you're crunching up a ball of paper. Inhale, open the hands really wide. Exhale, squeeze really tight. And we want to keep breathing that pace. But the movement in the hands is just going to start to speed up. So we inhale and exhale. And pre-fatiguing the forearms so they are ready to bear a little bit of weight. Breathe in and let it go. And we're just going to keep going for another 15 seconds. So inhale and exhale. Maybe you can start to speed up that movement there in the hands. Breathe in. Breathe out. I'm here for another 5, for 4, for 3. Really open the hands as well for 2 and 1. Let the arms rock down by the side. I'm sure the forearms are really starting to feel it now. So just starting to move out through the shoulders. If you want, you can find full range of flexion, reaching the arms up towards the sky, and then full range of extension, taking the arms back behind you like you were high-fiving the ceiling. I'm just starting to lift the arms and take them back behind us. And you want this movement to be controlled. So notice I'm trying to keep the chest where it is, the ribs drawing in, the belly in, rather than swinging and lifting the chest up and then crouching forward. Just be here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, and 1. We'll come back on to all fours, untuck the toes, bash the top of the feet onto the mat for a moment. And then grip the mat with the fingertips, push away from the floor, wrap the biceps forward, just start to create small circles over the wrist. Now you can continue just to go in one direction, or you can shift from clockwise to anti-clockwise, whatever you like. Now, we always want to keep, especially when working on things like handstands and press to handstands, the weight in the inner part of the palm. So naturally, when you push against the earth with your hands. The weight falls more towards that pinky side edge of the hand, which is fine at first, but if that is continued over long periods of time, it starts to place a lot of pressure on the ulnar side of your wrist. So we want to push down through the space between that thumb and index knuckle. So imagine there was a little dot of super glue under your index knuckle, and that was staying super glued to the floor there. You're just creating a natural range of motion over the wrists. We're going to start to turn the fingers out towards either side, walk the hands out a little wider, and shift from side to side. As you shift, can you stay in a state of scapular protraction, pushing away from the floor? And notice my fingertips, if you can see them, are pulling back towards the palm. So I have 3 points of contact here in the hand. I have the fingertips, I have the base knuckles of the fingers, and the heel of the hand as well. 3 points of contact. And we use these strategically. Think in a handstand, if we lean the shoulders forward too much, the fingertips bite into the earth, and that can stop us from falling forward. Whereas if we lean back too much, we push into the heel of the hand to try and take the weight or the balance a little more to the base knuckle of the fingers there. Then continuing the journey, turn the fingers so they face back towards your thighs. Lean your hips back towards your heels. And keep the toes tucked under here. I have them untucked completely, up to you. You can start with the palms pressing down flat, and if there's space, bend the right elbow, lift the right palm up off the mat, get a deeper stretch through the fingers there. Then re-straighten the right arm, ground the palm, bend the left elbow, lift the left palm up and off the mat. Up and up the mat. And then from here, untuck the toes. Take the back of the hands to the mat, really close to the knees. So the closer they are to the knees, it's just going to place less pressure or less flexion on the wrist joint. And then wrap your biceps towards the front of the mat. See if you can just start to wiggle your fingers, and you'll probably see the muscles in the forearms start to go crazy here. Nice work. Then interlace your hands, sit the hips back towards the heels, just start to roll out the wrists, so creating almost like a figure 8 shape here in the wrists. And then change directions. And you'll notice we take a lot of time to warm up because the transition we're working towards is a strong one. We want the entire body to be integrated before we even attempt to go there, just to avoid the risk of injury and make sure the body is completely ready for where it is going. From here, we are going to come to our first downward facing dog. So untuck the toes, send the hips back towards the heels. Now I'm going to keep the cueing minimal here in the integration and the sun salutation portion of the practice. Because this is a stronger practice, I'm going to assume you're pretty comfortable in poses like downward facing dog and Chaturanga and things like that. But if you are newer, practicing with me, this is going to be the shy variation of the vinyasa and the sun salutation A, and they're all going to help us towards our journey for that press to handstand. So take a breath here. Open the mouth, let that one go. And shuffle 2 big toes so that they are touching. Inhale, reach your right leg up and back behind you. Flex the foot towards the face. So we start with dorsiflexion. Push the heel back behind you. Then lift your left heel as high as you can. Pull your right knee to chest. As you look forward, gently step your right foot between the hands. Now from here, we lean forward, lift the left leg in the air, come onto the fingertips. So this is our halfway lift. The left toes are pointing back behind us. We're getting a little more length through the legs because we'll need it later on. Pull the navel in towards the spine. Point your left toes back behind you. Take an inhale. And as we exhale, we work into a fold. So flex the left foot, let it touch down next to your right, but really suck the left femur bone up into the hip socket, and see if that left foot can hover for a moment just next to the right, and then soften the left foot down and fold over the thighs. Nice work. From here, inhale, reach the arms all the way up and overhead. Urdhva Hastasana. Look towards the palms, press the hips forward, pull the belly in. Then exhale, find Samastitihi. Bring the palms together at heart. We'll reset in Tadasana. Thighs squeeze towards each other, glutes are firm, belly pulls in. Inhaling for Urdhva Hasta, reach the arms forwards and up. And then exhale, fold over the thighs. Reach your arms out in front of you to get a little more length through the hamstring. On the inhale, we take a halfway lift, come onto the fingertips. This time we pick up the right leg, extend it back behind us, point through the right toes. Pull the belly and lift that chest a little more. Then on the exhale, we're going to touch back to a lunge. Left knee will bend, right toes will touch back, and then we'll drop the right knee down. Flex that right glute, keep the hips pressing forward. Inhale, reach your arms forwards and up. And then exhale, we'll set the hands either side of the left foot. Lift the back knee up and off the earth and hover the right knee in towards the chest. Really working on that pressing strength. Push in to the base of the thumb, the space between the index finger and thumb. Pull the belly in. Keep that knee lifting up. Be here for 5, 4, for 3, 2, on 1. Come back to your first plank pose. Separate the feet hip width distance apart. Press your heels back. Move your chest forward. And then really draw the belly in towards the spine. You're going to be here for a count of 5. For 4, keep the belly pulling in. For 3, for 2, on 1. Gently we drop the knees. Send the hips back towards the heels, keeping the toes tucked under. We'll take a breath in. And on the exhale, we're going to spring through a plank pose. So knees lift, we roll the shoulders forward. And the shoulders keep moving forward as we bend the elbows. Gently lower the chest towards the floor. Once it touches, we press straight back up for our first push-up of the practice. And then rebend those elbows, slow motion lower all the way to the floor. Tops of feet press down. We're going to inhale, Bhujangasana. Shoulders roll up and back, chest rises. Exhale, rebend the elbows, gently lower the head. And tuck under the toes, lift the knees, press through hands and feet, push up. We're back in downward facing dog. Single breath. Open the mouth, let it go. And we begin our left side. So inhale, reach the left leg up and back you. Keep the toes flexing. Lift with the inner thigh. Then elevate that right heel. Pull the left knee to chest. Look forward. Work your hardest to land the left foot between the hands without the palms lifting up and off the mat. Then lean forward, lift the right leg in the air. Point the right toes. Keep that right hip wrapping down. Come on up. Maybe you're just on the first 2 fingers here. Take an inhale. Then as we exhale, flex the right foot. Plug the right femur up into the hip socket. Slowly lower the right leg next to the left and let it hover. So this shape right here is what we're going to be rehearsing when we get towards that press handstand. The idea of plugging the femur up into the socket and keeping the feet hovering. And we lower the right foot down and fold over the thighs. Inhale for Urdhva Hasta. Reach your arms forwards and up. Exhale, Samastitihi. Bring the palms together. Reset in Tadasana. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, we fold, reach the arms out in front. As we inhale for the halfway lift, this time lift the left leg up and back behind you. Point through the left toes. And then as we settle back for the lunge, we bend the right knee, deliver the left toes, soften the back knee down. Left glute stays firm. Inhale, Anjaneyasana. Reach your hips forward and your arms up. And then exhale, hands either side of the right foot. Back, knee lifts. We push through the earth. Draw that right knee in towards your chest. We're going to be here for 5, 4, for 3, 2, on 1. Come back to your plank. Drop the knees. Inhale, send the hips back to heels. Exhale, spring through the plank. Lower the chest towards the floor. Then press yourself straight back up. Rebend the elbows. We lower down. This time as we push through Bhujangasana Cobra, we press up and off the earth and find upward facing dog. Now it's a first up dog, so be here for a moment. Notice if the shoulders are caving forwards. Take a soft bend in the elbows, pull the shoulder heads back, and then press to re-straighten the arms. So the head is above the shoulders are above the elbows are above the wrists. The top of your feet are pressing down to lift your knees. Take a breath. Exhale, we lift up and back for downward facing dog. So that was one round of our Sun Salutation A today. We are going to make our way through 2 more rounds of that, flowing with our breath. So we're going to be moving through at pace this time. So try and stick with me. If you need to pause the video at any point, rewind it and rewatch it, absolutely you can. We'll take an inhale. Let it out. Then inhale, reach the right leg up and back behind you. Keep the foot flexing. Exhale, step the right foot between the hands. Palms stay flat. Inhale, halfway lift. The left leg rises. Left toes are pointed. Exhale, we fold. Flex the left foot. Let it gently land next to the right. Inhaling Urdhva Hastasana. Press through the feet as you reach the arms all the way up. Then exhale, reset. Palms come through heart. And then soften down by the side. Inhale, we reach up. Exhale, we bow forward. Inhale, the halfway lift. Right leg lifts this time. Point the toes. Then exhale, we land to lunge. Soften the back knee down. Inhale, Anjaneyasana. Feel the opening in the front right hip. Feel the length through the front body. And then exhale, palms press flat. We hover the left knee up and off the earth. We'll be here for 5, 4, 3. We're just understanding compression here for 2. On 1, step it back to plank. Make your way through that vinyasa. Inhale, hips to heels. Exhale, spring through your push-up. And lower yourself all the way to the floor as you push up and off the earth for upward facing dog. We'll meet back in downward, starting our left side. So inhale, left leg high, keep the foot flexed. Exhale, left foot between the hands, palms flat. Inhale, halfway lift, the right leg lifts, point the toes. Exhale, flex the foot, land in the fold. Inhaling Urdhva Hasta. Exhale, Samastitihi. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, we fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Left leg will rise this time. Point those toes. And then exhale, land back in that lunge. Soften the knee down. Inhale, Anjaneyasana. Really flex that left glute. Reach the arms up higher. And then exhale, hands soften to mat. Lift the right knee in towards the chest. Be here for 5, 4, for 3, 2, on 1. Come back to your plank, lower the knees, make your way through that vinyasa. Inhale, hips to heels. Exhale, spring through your full push-up, chest to floor, then lower all the way to the earth. Come through Bhuja, push for upward facing. And then exhale, we'll meet back in downward facing dog. We have one more round of the modified Sun Salutation. And then we're going to make our way through 3 rounds of a more classical Sun Salutation, working on that float forward to the top of the mat. So this is our 3rd round. Again, I'm just going to cue the poses this time and the breath. Everything else is all on you. Take an inhale. Exhale, let it go. Inhale, right leg to sky. Exhale, right foot between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift, left leg rises. Exhale, we fold. Inhaling Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Samastitihi. Inhaling Urdhva. Exhaling Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, right leg rises. Exhale, soften to the lunge. Inhale, reach the arms forwards and up. Exhale, palms flat, hover the left knee. Be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Step back to that plank, lower the knees, make your way through your vinyasa. Now the push-ups are absolutely optional, but they are going to really help us to build some of that pushing and that pressing strength that we need later on. Left side to go. Inhale, left leg high. Exhale, left foot between the hands. Inhale, lift the right leg, halfway lift. Exhale, we fold. Inhale, reach those arms up. Exhale, samastitihi. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, bow forward, going so well. Inhale, halfway lift, left leg will rise this time. Exhale, soften back to that. Inhale, Anjaneyasana, final one. Exhale, palms flat, hover the right knee. Be here for 5, 4, really draw the belly button in and up. 3, push through the palms. 2, on 1, take it back to the plank. Drop the knees. Inhale, hips to heels. Exhale, spring through your full push-up. Make your way to the earth. Come through Bhujangasana, pressing up and off for upward facing dog. And then let the exhale take you back to downward facing dog. So a 3 round of a modified sun salutation. Give yourself a few breaths to breathe here in downward facing dog. And then we make our way through 3 rounds for more classical Surya Namaskara A. With again some more intentional variations to get us towards where we're going. So palms are pressing flat, biceps wrapping forward. Let's shrug the shoulders up towards the ears. Take a breath. Open the mouth, let it go. And we're going to work to walk slowly to the top of the mat, but each time we step, we are going to work to take that foot to the back of the wrist. What I mean by that is on the inhale, I'm going to lift my heels. Now as my right foot lifts, I'm going to take my right toes to tap the back of my right wrists without my palms lifting, and then just step the right foot 1 step in front of the left. And then same on the left side. The right heel will lift. I'll pick up the left foot, tap the back of the left wrist, and step that left foot just in front of the right. So that is how we are going to journey towards the top of the mat on this first round, really understanding that idea of hip flexor compression and of pushing the palms into the earth. Nice whack. Inhale, halfway lift. Both feet are grounded this time. Exhale, we bow. Then inhale, reach your arms forwards and up. Exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Inhaling, reach the arms up. Exhale, we bow forward. Now preparing for the float back to Chaturanga. So on the inhale, take a halfway lift. Now this is our first idea of pushing into the earth. So as you press your palms down flat, if you need to bend your knees, absolutely. We are going to work to take a little hop, to hop the feet back to Chaturanga. Now we know Chaturanga is a bent arm movement, so once the feet lift, we bend the elbows. So grip with the fingertips, wrap the biceps forward, inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, hop the feet back, bend the elbow. Then make your way through your classical vinyasa, upward facing dog. Exhale, come back to downward facing dog. Just take a single breath. And then again, we walk forward just like we did before. So each time we lift a foot, we tap the back of the wrist, keeping the palms flat the entire time, working pressing strength and hip flexor compression. Once we arrive, feet between the hands, inhale, halfway lift. Then exhale to bow forward. Inhale, reach the arms forwards and up. Exhale, palms press together. Inhale, reach up. Exhale to bow. Now inhale, take a halfway lift. We are working with the float back to Chaturanga again. Now if the idea of hopping the feet worked quite easily for you, this time we are going to work to lean the weight forward into the fingertips, come onto the toes, and see if we can lift the feet, even just an inch or two. And as soon as they lift, you want to take them back and land in that Chaturanga. You don't want to hang out in that state of floating for too long, especially this early in the practice. So set the feet together. Squeeze the inner thighs towards each other. Set the fingertips about 30 centimeters in front of the feet, or 12 inches if you like. Inhale, take your halfway lift. And from here, press through the palms, lean forward into the fingertips, see if the feet will lift. Take them back to Chaturanga and make your way through your vinyasa. Nice one. If that worked, fantastic. If it didn't, don't worry about it. This third and final round, we are going to work with the idea of the float forward towards the top of the mat. Everything we've worked on. Pushing into the hands, flexing the feet, plugging the femur bones into the hip socket. I want you to imagine that you are trying to hop your feet and land with straight legs, but first tap your toes to the back of your wrist. Now that may work, it may not, but it's worth a try, right? So press through the inner palm, shrug the shoulders up towards the ears, take a breath in, let it out, and then you'll journey to the top of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale to fold. Inhaling Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale Samastitihi. Inhale, arms up, reach up. Exhale, we bow forward. And inhale, we take that halfway lift. And then once again, work that float back to Chaturanga. Taking one single breath here in your downward facing dog. And then a final attempt to float forward to the top of the mat. Look forward, lift heels, bend knees. Try and tap the back of the wrists with the toes. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale to fold. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up towards the sky. And exhale, palms come together at heart. We find Samastitihi. Nice work. So the body is really starting to warm up now. What we're going to do is hang out in a forward fold for a little bit. And if you have blocks, we're going to pop our feet onto the blocks just to elevate the feet off the earth and try and get deeper into the hamstrings here. So you want to set those blocks just on the lower side, about hip width distance apart. Set your feet onto the blocks. Nice and easy. You want to keep the weight a little more in the heels rather than the toes. Just allow yourself to fold over your thighs. Catch hold of opposite elbows here. And just find that gentle sway. Start with a bend in the knees if you need to understand just how close the rib cage and the thighs are. That's what we're going to work on a little later on. We want rib cage to thighs when we work towards that press handstand. Also getting comfortable, having our feet resting on the blocks here. If the neck's being naughty, it won't release. Interlace the fingers. Take them to the back of the neck. The elbows falling towards each other. Your chin pull to chest. If you have more space here in your fold, take your hands to the back of the ankles. Inhale, lift halfway, straighten the legs. Then exhale, bend the elbows. Take your forearms to the back of your calves. Pull your torso down the length of your legs. front body compression feels okay. You want to take it one step further. Interlace your fingers behind your back. So grip the fingers towards each other, but let the palms separate. Allow the shoulders and the arms to drop over the back of the head. Wiggle the toes every now and then. Flex the quads. Make sure the legs are still integrated. They're not just passively hanging there. Take one last breath. As you exhale, bend your elbows, let your hands touch the low back, then soften. Fingertips down towards the earth. We're going to work to push down through the fingertips, really round through the upper and middle back. Flex the quads. And just start to flex your right foot. See if you can hover the right foot up and off the blocks. Be there for 5. Push through the left hand a little more for 4. 3, 2, on 1. Soften the right foot down. Start to flex the left toes. Press into both hands. See if you can hover the left foot. We're here for 5. Again, plug that femur bone into the hip socket for 4. Keep flexing the toes for 3. Pull the belly in for 2. And 1. We lower the left foot down. Inhale, take a halfway lift. Exhale to fold. We try that one more time. Option to ground the palms down flat in front of the blocks this time. Grip the mat with the fingertips. Push from here. Lift the right foot up and hover it above the block for 5. 4. Keep the weight even through both hands. 3. Shrug the shoulders towards the ears. 2. On 1. Soften the right foot down. We do the same on the left side. So lean forward into the fingertips. Push through both palms. Lift the left foot up and off the earth. Be here for 5. 4. 3. Plug that femur. 2. Press into the right hand. And 1. Soften that left foot down. Whew, nice work. We're going to hop off the blocks now. Set them off to the side. Come on down, find Malasana. So we spent a lot of time already really working on that idea of plugging or lifting the femur bone up into the hip socket and flexing the feet. And that's going to really, really help us later on when we get towards our press handstand. From your Malasana, sit up nice and tall, reach your arms out in front of you, pull the belly in, find a little more rounding through the upper and middle back. And then from here, we're going to keep reaching the arms forward and work to slowly set the hips onto the floor, lift those legs up and off the mat, finding Navasana. Flex the feet towards the face. From here, pull your shoulders back, lift your chest. We're going to modify our Navasana today to make it a little more specific for where we're going. So take your palms to press together, spread the legs out wide, and straighten them. Flex the feet, take a breath in. And on the exhale, we're going to lower, let the heels hover off the floor. Draw the chin to chest, reach the arms up and overhead. Take a breath here. On the exhale, we come back to where we were. Slice the hands through the legs, lift the chest, separate the legs. And then we lower back down. Inhale. Exhale, we lift. Inhale. Exhale, we lift. Keep those feet flexing. Inhale. Exhale, we lift. Let's go 5 more. Inhale. Exhale, we rise. 4 more. Inhale. Exhale. 3 left. Last 2. You can do it. Last one. Exhale, we lift. Lift, 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 lift. Keep the feet flexing. Keep the chest rising. We're here for 5, for 4, 3, 2, on 1. Soles of feet together. Wrap the hands around the outsides of the feet and allow yourself to fold here in Bhavishya Konasana. So the body is nearly ready to work towards that idea of pressing to handstand. But we do want to work towards some different variations of the handstand first, just to make sure we are comfortable getting upside down. Let your head be nice and heavy. Chin drop to chest, just move the ears towards the shoulders. Release through both sides of the neck. And then from here, coming up, cross one ankle over the next. We're just going to very slowly sit the hips back towards the heels for a moment in an upright position. If you've practiced with me before, I like to put the tuck jumps to handstand in a lot of my practices. It's a less scary way to get comfortable being upside down because you're in a much smaller shape. You're closer to the ground. The center of gravity is lower. So there's three things that are really important in a tuck handstand. One is ribs to thighs, which is also going to be in that straddle press. Next one is heels to butt. And the third one is outstretched arms, gaze between the hands, which is where you want to look in all of your all of your handstand variations. So notice right now, if I just fold over my thighs and reach my arms out in front, I'm in the shape of the tuck handstand now. The ribs are on the thighs, the heels are in towards the butt, and the arms are outstretched. So if we take it to downward facing dog, we're going to work for about 5 to 10 hops. Now, if you get it on the very first attempt, obviously you hold it for the rest of the time. But if you're just working on the 10 hops, then fantastic. You work on that 10. But I am going to assume, because you're working on press handstands today, that you're a little more comfortable getting upside down. So from the down dog, feet a little closer, look forward. We're just going to try and draw knees to chest, heels to butt, but keep that gaze between your hands. Inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees. Exhale, work to hop. Knees to chest, heels to butt. Try and point the toes. If you're hopping, try not to overly exert yourself. If you're there, just hold it. Be here for another 5. For 4, really keep those arms nice and straight. For 3, grip with the fingertips. For 2, then on 1. See if we can come back to downward facing dog. Nice work. Take a single breath. Open the mouth, let it go. Inhale, reach that right leg up and back behind you. Flex the toes. Exhale, step the right foot between the hands. From here, we're going to take it in to Warrior 2. Ground the back heel down. Once we come on up, separate those arms nice and wide. Let your shoulder blades spread apart, the shoulder heads soften away from the ears. Allow the right knee to stay tracking over the second toe and your left toes to turn in a little more towards you. We're going to take a breath here. Exhale, sit even deeper. Then together, as we inhale, just straighten through the front leg. Reach both arms straight up towards the sky. Look up. Exhale, take it back. Warrior 2. Nice one. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Reach the arms up. Exhale, back to Warrior 2. One more time like that. Inhale, we rise. Exhale, we lower. Then from here, just bring your palms together in front of your heart. And excuse my back facing the camera. I just want you to see this from both sides. We are going to do it on the left-hand side after all. Straighten through the front leg. Lift the right toes up off the mat. Then look back at your left foot. We now want the toes to turn out just slightly. And as we start to bend into the left knee, we're going to keep the right toes lifting up and off the earth and work to sit our hips down as low as we can while keeping our chest lifted. Remember that first malasana where we pushed the arms into the inside of the legs to lift the chest. The hips lower down, but they're not quite on the floor yet. The right toes are lifting up and off the earth. Take a breath here. Hold for the exhale. Then I want you to muster all your strength. Push through that left foot. Come back up to stand. Both legs are straight. And then ground your right foot down flat. Lift your left toes up and off the earth. Take a breath in. We go for the same on the opposite side. We sit deep into the right leg. Once the hips sit down nice and low, we keep the chest lifting. Press the back of the right arm to the inside of the right thigh. Keep the chest lifting and really flex those left toes towards you. Take a breath in. Stay for the exhale. Push through that right foot, come back up to stand. And then from here, we're going to set up for Prasarita Padottanasana, which is going to be our preparatory pose for the straddle press. So take the feet wider than the hips. Just let your feet be parallel. A few variations of this pose today. Take your thumbs just above your hips. Let your forefingers rest around the outside. Pull your shoulder blades back towards each other. Lift the chest. Press the hips forward. Flex the quads. Then lift the gaze. Take an inhale. As we exhale, bow forward over your thigh. Then just set your fingertips onto the earth just in front of your feet. And let the torso be heavy for a moment. Play with shifting the hips gently from one side to the next. So this is first round. We're not going to come into the press handstand just yet, unless of course you're there already in your practice. You can come straight into it. But these preparations, in my opinion, are stronger than the press handstand themselves. So it's better to get stronger in these preparations so that one day the feet just lift. And that's what everyone kept telling me before I got to my press handstand. They told me one day the legs just lift. And I thought it was absolute crap for the longest time. And then one day they actually just lifted up and off the mat. So don't be discouraged. It will happen. See if you can parallel your heels with one edge of the mat. Then walk your hands in front. So maybe their fingertips are almost parallel with the front edge of the mat or a little bit back. We're going to push down into the palms. Wrap the biceps forward, really round through the upper and middle back. So find as much protraction and elevation in the scapula as you can. Now all we're going to do is lean forward into the fingertips, push into the heel of the hand, lift up onto the toes. Keep the gaze down between the hands. See if you can lift us onto the big toe. Be here for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Soften the feet down flat. Walk the fingers further in front of you. Lift the toes up and off the mat. Difference in sensation. See what it does. Take a breath. Exhale, ground the feet down. We come back to where we were. Push through the palms. Round through the upper and middle back. Lean forward. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Heels soften. Come onto the fingertips. Lift the toes. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Soften the feet down flat. So this is our third and final attempt. Again, this is the first side, so you can just stick with what we did. If you already can press comfortably in your practice, this time you can work to take it straight up or just hover the toes a millimeter up and off the earth. But let it be known, hovering the toes up and off the earth and holding them there is more challenging than lifting the legs up. So if you feel your toes float up and off the mat, see if you can lift the legs. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, we get to try again on the opposite side anyway. So getting yourself ready, mentally preparing. When you're ready, we go for our third attempt. Inhale, take a halfway lift. Exhale, we go for it. If the legs lift, see if you can find Tadasana, upside down. So take inner thighs towards each other, inner ankles towards each other. Keep pressing through the hands. Wherever you are, be there for 5, 4, 3, 2. And if you're upside down, straddle the legs first. Keep the toes pointed. Then come to your widest straddle. Flex your feet and slowly lower your feet back down. Nice work. Inhale, take a halfway lift. From here, we'll walk around towards the front of the mat. So you should be on the opposite side to me. So you should end up with your right foot in front of you. Then once you do, lower your left knee. We're going to take it into a pigeon pose just to release through the hip. Walk that left leg further back behind you. Then press the top of the left foot down. Start by lowering down onto your forearms. Just see what that feels like. And if you can take it further, walk the arms out in front, soften the forehead down. Be here for 5 of your own breaths.
Slowing everything down. Finding a sense of calm if we can. Your final breath. And then mindfully, move the hands back towards you. I'm going to take this straight into a wild thing. It's really going to help just to open through the front of the hips. We've spent so much time in that compression. So tuck your left toes, lift your left knee up and off the earth, push through the hands. Once the right leg lifts, we fall to the outside edge of the left foot. Deliver the right toes behind us. Press through the left hand, spin and reach the right arm up and overhead here. Pull your belly in, let your right arm be heavy. Feel the opening through the right side of the torso there. Take an in breath. Then exhale, we come back and find downward facing dog. Preparing for our left side now. Inhale, reach the left leg up and back behind you. Exhale, step the left foot between the hands, palms flat. I'm going to medium warrior 2. Back heel will ground down as we come on up. Separate the arms nice and wide. Sit deep into your left thigh. We want to work towards 90-degree angle in the left thigh, keeping left knee over second toe. So not letting the knee fall in. We are working, after all, on a lot of external rotation on the hips. Back toes will turn in slightly. Back leg's nice and strong. Right glute is firm. And take a breath here. Exhale, let's sit deeper. And inhale, straighten that front leg, reach the arms straight up. Exhale, we come back, sit deep. 2 more like that. Inhale to rise. Exhale, sit back. Inhale, we rise. Nice one. One more for good luck. Just in case I forgot how to count. Which happens quite often. Then from here, take the palms together at heart, straighten the front leg. Look back at that right foot. I'm going to step it in or touch. Let the right toes turn back towards that back edge of the mat. Then like we did before, front toes are going to lift up off the mat. We're going to sit deep into the right thigh, keeping the left toes lifting up off the mat. This side is going to be a little bit different. Once you come down to your deepest variation, we're going to sit the hips onto the floor. Take your left hand around the front of your right ankle. Press the back of your left arm to your inner left thigh. Spin the right side of the body up towards the ceiling. Take an inhale. On the exhale, you're going to work to deliver your right hand over towards the left foot. And then you're going to peel the right shoulder or the right armpit up towards the ceiling. Move the right knee away from you. And then press the ball of your left foot forwards, getting a deeper opening through the right side of your upper body here. Take a deep breath in. Stay for the exhale. Now we very gently release that left foot, come back up to square. And like nothing ever happened, bring the palms together at heart. Lean forward to lift your hips up and off the earth. Straighten both legs. Come on up. And then we prepare for the second side. Left foot will ground flat. We'll lift the right toes up and off the earth. Take an inhale. Exhale, sit deep into that left thigh. Once you come to your deepest variation, we gently soften. Hips down towards the floor. Right hand will catch the front of the left ankle. Take the back of the right arm to the inside of the right thigh. You push those two against each other to spin the left side of the body up a little higher, taking an in-breath. Then using your exhale to deliver the left arm over towards the right foot. Now, if it doesn't get there, hand on the back of the neck. If you can work to shimmy and take yourself deeper into the pose, you might be able to find the outside of the foot there. Left knee moves away from you. Press the ball of the right foot forward. Spin the left armpit up towards the ceiling. Take a full breath. Stay for the exhale.
Gently release your foot. Come back up to square like nothing ever happened. Palms press. We lean forward. Hips lift. Both legs are straight. We come on up. Nice work. Now, we're going to use our blocks this time. We're setting up for that prasarita, padottanasana, or that separate leg straddle forward fold. Taking the feet up and off the earth gets your hands closer to the ground. The wider the feet are, the less intense the stretch is going to be on your hamstrings. Also, the wider the legs are, the less height your hips have. And the higher the hips are, the easier the lift is going to be. So you might want to play with your blocks, take them wider, take them more narrow, find what works for you. And then we're going to come into that same forward fold, just with the feet elevated up and off the earth. And this will be our chance to play with that press to handstand. Now, if it worked on the previous round, fantastic. This will probably be a little easier for you because the feet are lifted. And if you are just starting out, this is going to be your starting point. So feet are on the blocks. Take the thumbs to the back of the hips, fingers around the outside. Pull the shoulders back, press the hips forward, lift the chest. Take a breath in, and then exhale, fold straight down the center. Start with fingertips in front of you. Gently rock the hips from side to side. So if you are stronger through the arms and shoulders and less flexible in the back of your legs, when starting out with the press, you're going to rely on leaning forward, shoulders forward over the wrists. And that's going to be easier for you to lift the hips nice and high. And if you're naturally more flexible through the back of the legs and naturally you find that compression, then maybe you can almost get your hands flat in between your feet. But for a lot of people, the hands are going to be a ways in front of the feet. Think 30 centimeters or 12 inches. The more you lean the shoulders over the wrist, after time, that's going to put a lot more stress on your wrist joint because you're coming into a deeper state of wrist extension. So just be mindful if you're starting out and you are coming or really planching forward, taking the shoulders in front of the wrist. It may feel fine at the start, but after a while, it can really wear on the wrist joints. So we are going to go for it this time. Think about everything we've worked on in the practice. Flexing the feet, flexing the quads, finding compression through the front body, pressing into the hands. Now again, if the feet hover an inch up and off the earth, give it a try. See if the legs will lift. They move out wide first, then they come together at the top. If you just want to come up onto the toes again, fantastic. But we're giving it our all here. This is what we were working towards. This is our peak. So start on the fingertips. Take a halfway lift. And the exhale will go for it. Palms press flat, lean forward, come onto the toes. If there's space, legs go wide, and then come together at the top. You can point the toes or flex them if you're in the handstand, whatever works for you. Pull the belly into spine, flex the glutes. If you're up, be there for 5, 4, for 3, 2. Now my friends who are up, this is the fun part. Straddle the legs, keep the toes pointed, and then flex the feet. You're going to try and deliver the feet back onto the blocks. So lean the shoulders forward gently. Land the feet back onto the blocks. Nice work. Inhale, lift halfway, then just hop off your blocks. Come to a malasana for just a moment. Set the blocks to the side. Interlace the hands and just roll out your wrists. So the press handstand is a lot of fun. If you're working on it, it's going to completely consume your physical practice for the longest time. Once you start being able to do it, you'll want to do it nonstop forever, so you don't lose the ability to do it. But after a while, I promise you, although exciting, it's not everything. So once you understand that although it's physically impressive, after a while, it's no more important than a Tadasana or a downward facing dog or a Shavasana. So just remember that. I'm going to come around to the top of the mat and set up for our Pigeon Pose here on the left-hand side. Awesome work. Set yourself up, extend the right leg back behind you. Press the top of the right foot down. You can come under the forearms. See what that feels like. If there's space, soften the forehead down and reach the arms out in front of you. 5 of your own breaths. Whatever just happened, whatever just didn't happen, don't worry about it. It's already done. There's nothing we can do now to change what has already happened. Although we can take what did or didn't happen and learn from it. We find out what worked, what didn't work for us, and we can play off that. We use everything that happens in the practice as lessons to move towards the future, rather than what happened or didn't happen as anchors weighing us down. So we leave it in the past, and take what we need, we use it towards the future. Last breath in. We slowly walk the hands back towards us. We are coming into that wild thing. So tuck the right toes, push, hover the left leg, and set left toes back behind you. Spin and reach, hips and heart up. Let the left arm be heavy and really open up through the front of the hips there. Take a full breath in. And gently come back. It's our final downward facing dog. We are going to come down onto the floor. Because we spent so much time compressing through hip flexors, we're going to take the blocks. We're going to work the jump through to a seat. Blocks are going to make our arms a little bit longer. Feet are going to walk in one step closer. Hips are going to lift a little higher. As we push through the hands, once your feet lift, I want you to think about flexing them, bringing the thighs towards the ribs and delivering your heels forward through your nice straight arms. So lift those heels nice and high, look forward, push through the hands, take an inhale. Exhale, bend the knees. Deliver the legs forward. Fantastic. You're going to set the blocks off to the side. We no longer need them. You're going to take those hands back behind you. Pull your shoulders back towards each other. Bend up your knees. Lift your hips nice and high. Finding some extension through the shoulder joint. Some length in the front of the hips. Bend the elbows a touch. Press your hips up higher, then re-straighten your arms. Extend the crown of the head backwards. Let your gaze lift up. Take a breath in. Exhale, drop your hips back down. Nice one. I want you to take a block. Now, I may have said we're not going to use the blocks anymore, but I apologize, I lied. We're going to finish off with a Virasana. Because we spent so much time compressing through the hips, this is going to feel amazing just to give you length through the front of your hips here. So set your hips onto the block. The feet are wider than the hips. The knees come together. If you feel the knees are internally rotating, lift the hips, thumbs to the calves, spread the calf muscles apart, lower yourself back down. From here, take the fingertips just outside your hips. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, we're going to work to lower back. So as we come on back, we want to scoot the hips up, tuck the tailbone under. Work to lower the forearms down onto the mat. Again, we want to eliminate the arching in the low back. So lift the hips, scoot the tailbone under. If there's more space, work to lower the head down towards the earth. Now, if you've come on down and the head's on the earth, but the knees have lifted up off the mat, come on back out because you've taken it just a little bit too far. We want to keep, as best we can, as much length of the spine moving down towards the earth. So eliminating this big arching and trying to keep the knees grounded. Now let your fingers just rest on the front of your hips here. I want you to very slowly just start to flex your right glute. So isolating the right glute, right hip will lift slightly. You'll feel a deeper opening through the front right side of that hip flexors, the psoas more specifically. And releasing through right side, flex the left glute. So to open up through the front of that left side. Releasing left, maybe you flex both. Lift the front of the hips up, scoot the tailbone under, and if there's space, reach the arms up and overhead. Catch hold of opposite elbows. Notice the chest will naturally puff out. See if you can draw the ribs in, draw the belly in. Take the belly button to the floor, but the pelvis to the ceiling. Take a breath here. Stay for the exhale. Now to gently take ourselves out of this posture. Take the elbows down alongside the body. Grip the front of the shins and press into the elbows to lift. Removing that block. We're going to sit the hips onto the floor. Excuse me if that was really loud there. Extend the legs out nice and long in front. I'm going to finish with a forward fold. Just allowing yourself to fold over your thighs. This is less about hip flexor compression this time and more about releasing through that lumbar spine. So if you can, take your palms around the bottoms of your toes. Inhale, lift your chest. Keep the spine nice and long. And on the exhale, we're going to bring the chin to chest and find a rounding through the upper and middle back. So remember, we're less about getting length in the legs and more about releasing through the low back. Inhale, take a halfway lift. The spine is long. Exhale, chin to chest, round through the upper and middle back. One more. Nice work. Come on down to your back. I'm going to finish off just with some gentle twists. Hands around the right shin, hug the right knee to chest. As you lower down, take that right knee off to the left-hand side. Spread the arms out wide. For the release through the right side of your lumbar here, let your right knee be heavy, let your belly be heavy. Take an inhale. Open the mouth, let it go. And gently coming back to center. Release the right leg out nice and long. Bring that left knee to chest. Wrap your hands around the left knee. Take a breath. And exhale. Left knee across to the right hand side. Arms spread out wide. Maybe gaze turns off towards the left hand. And everything be heavy now. Let your eyes close. Be proud of your efforts. Acknowledge that you worked hard. This was not a test. There's never things that need to happen in the practice for it to be deemed a success. Every time you get on your mat, that's a win. So be mindful you did your best. That's all we can do. Come back to center. Lift the head slightly, interlace the fingers. Cradle the back of the head. Then from here, bring your elbows to your knees to elbows, round through the spine. Bring the chin to chest. Take a breath in. And then on your exhale, release. Find your final resting pose of Shavasana. Legs extend out nice and long. Let everything release. Toes fall out, fingers curl in. Be proud of your efforts, but look forward to your stillness. Be mindful you worked hard, but the work has not stopped. The most important part of your practice is the stillness, the space to yourself. Your meditation, your Shavasana. As always, thank you so much for practicing. If you need anything from me, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, have the best day. Peace.